Okay, thank you everyone for joining in. We'll be starting now. It's time 12 noon, and this webinar is 30 minutes. So my name is Hassan Ali, and I've been with Actian for close to 9 years. I've been working and helping customers to architect their data warehouses to be able to really query their data and get an insight for their data for a better business outcome. So this is my specialty. I'll be happy to help any of you later on. So let me go ahead and start with the agenda. We're going to have a quick overview of Avalanche and what makes us stand out in the market. And I have prepared a very special, important demo talks about fraud analytics in the healthcare industry. And at the end, I'm going to show you a demo how we can really populate Tableau Dashboard on Avalanche data warehouse with over 1 billion records of data. Just to give you a quick summary of who we are, what's Avalanche. Avalanche is a fully managed multi-cloud and on-premise enterprise modern data warehouse. It was architected to solve complex hybrid data challenges while focusing on price performance benefits. Here are some of the benefits we have when it comes to Avalanche. You can deploy to any cloud, AWS or Azure, or your private cloud as well, or on-premise, or you can choose a hybrid solution. Avalanche is a fully compliant, ACID compliant, SQL standard technology. You really will take advantage of the elasticity and the scalability. Cloud economics, you pay for what you use. When you are running at the end of the month, end of quarter, you basically add more cluster size, more CPU power, and then when you're over that hump, you can reduce the number of cluster and turn them off. Or if you're not running any jobs, you can basically schedule it or set it up to automatically shut down. This way you don't pay for the compute power. And this is where the reason why you're able to do that, because we have a separation of storage and compute. Another standard comes with Avalanche. It comes with a natively embedded ETL tool, enterprise ETL tool. We call it Avalanche Connect. So once you log into the console, you can query the data, you can ingest the data. You have the ability to bring in your data through our patent technology, our own technology. We call it Data Connect. It's part of Avalanche now on the cloud. We also offer migration tools to help you move from your legacy data warehouse without any issues. We have a full presentation on the migration capabilities we have to bring you on board without any problems. Here are some of the marquees, some of the customers who validated and tested and run in production, and we were able to help them really get value of their data so they can have a better business outcome and meet their expectation or business challenges. Now, we're very fast. Performance is our key differentiator. So I just want to share with you a few test benches we did. This is a TPC test bench that we compare for running a set of complex query for one user, and we run the same queries using 20 users. We were ahead of the competition. As you can see the numbers on the screen. We outperformed Snowflake by 9x price performance wise, and we have a fully detailed information and the test bench results in our website. You can see that. Also, another test bench we've done is we want to really calculate the cost for the performance. This is another demo. You get to see that demo if you like. We usually alternate between healthcare and the we call this mission control demo. We are running 440 query test bench, and we calculate the utilization of CPU running, cranking these queries. At the end of the demo, basically Avalanche was able to run the 440 query in under $5, $4.38. Competition X, the 440, you had to spend $22, and then Redshift it was 12.72. So this is a live demo that you can see where we can really run the queries live, and this pie chart will be calculating how much consumption of the CPU to get the results back. As you can see, Avalanche was able to complete the 440 queries in about $4 plus. Here's again, as you see from this chart, as data increases, you will see that the gap between us and the competition as far as the cost is concerned. As data increases, we maintain our increase in the cost. The reason why we're able to maintain the cost for you, because we really have under the hood, the technology we have is uniquely distinguished, and there is a lot of details we can share. If you would like to know why we're so fast when it comes to compute power, because this is again, this is our X100 under the hood, is designed from the ground up for multi-processing and pipelining and columnar format to execute any complex query. As you can see, the competition, as loads increases, their price, like in Snowflakes or Redshift, the price increase. Again, this performance advantages is due to our vectorized processing. Vectorized processing, for you to know, when you run a compute or operation, you will, many of the databases, you run one, as a raw format, you run one operation at the time. When it comes to Avalanche vectorized processing, we read the whole column and then we do the operation, so it's called SIMD, so single instruction, multiple data. So you can do load for the whole data set in a column, and then you basically get the result with a few clock cycle compared to hundreds of clock cycle to get that result. We use CPU cache when we run execution of memory. So data is executed in cache. Data is in columnar format. Our columnar technology does not only store data in a columnar format, but actually it moves the data. As data moves from disk to memory to cache, it moves in a columnar format. And also when you execute on the queries, data is also executed in a columnar format. The only time the data is loaded to your dashboard, this is where data is loaded in the raw format as it goes to your dashboard. As you load data, there's an automatic indexing is added to keep track of the data blocks, min-max index. So we know where all the data lives. Not like other data warehouses where you have to have a DB admin does copying and does more custom indexing so you can improve performance. There's no tuning is needed when it comes to Avalanche. You load the data, you run the dashboard and queries, and you're set to go. Multi-core processing, we take advantage of all the hardware. Again, Avalanche was designed from the ground out to take advantage of a commodity warehouse where you don't have to have a special data or hardware to run it. No appliances needed. You can run this. If you want to run this on premise, you can install it in your laptop and it will perform for you. This is if you want to do on premise. So as far as security, this is, again, we have a full presentation on the security. This is just to show you a little bit of what we do. We have user authentication. Basically, you can use any pluggable user authentication application to run your authentication. Discretionary control, who access and who's allowed to access the warehouse. Role separation, who need to see what data, what tables. You can create the audits, security audits and alarm if someone tried to access the table or database not authorized. It will alarm and send notification. Data is encrypted at rest and in motion. At all time, data is secure, and you can do dynamic data masking if you want to only show certain part of the data and the rest you want to hide it. At the cluster level, it's firewall at the cluster, single tenant architecture, federated authentication, end-to-end encryption, and we are SOC 2 compliant. So every cluster is by default is locked. No one can access it unless you whitelist the IP address where you going to access the data warehouse. So let me share with you the fraud detection. Fraud detection information. Every company who runs fraud detection in any space, in financial, in health, care, you name it, all the companies, they want to make sure no one is doing any fraud or potential fraud. The challenge it's to run models, to run data modeling, to be able to detect any fraud. You need to have a lot of data and variety of data. The more data you have, the more value you will get. And so the value, it needs to be current data, historical data, data from different departments, data in different format. And the only way for you to make sense of your data and create your model that will give you a robust fraud detection solution is to have a velocity, meaning you have a data warehouse can crank through that data sets. And Avalanche is able to do that. As I mentioned at the beginning, in Avalanche, we have natively enterprise ETL tool called Avalanche Connect. You're able to bring data from different sources, like in the healthcare industry, data coming from for claims processing, from dentists, pharmacists, doctor, hospital, and even it can come from an API from remote application and so on. You're able to load that data natively to your Avalanche, and then you can run your data engineer, your data scientist, or your business analyst, or your fraud detection analyst can run on the data that you have with a speed that will be pleasing for them, where the data come back very quickly. So with that, I'm gonna just jump in to the demo. So before I go to the demo, the healthcare demo, I want to show you Avalanche Console. And this is, again, we're the only one can offer with one interface console that we have ability to create your cluster. You can create cluster, just name the cluster, and then choose the deployment cloud you want to do, Azure or AWS. And by toward the end of the year, we should have Google Cloud. And then you select the region, what region you want to deploy your cluster, and you can choose how big of a cluster. Are you running at basically a 4 AU, 8 AU, or maybe you're running in a bit more AUs. The more data you have, the more concurrency we will support you. So for basically for 8 AAUs, for the record, 1 AAU can support 4 terabyte of compressed data. I'm sorry, 8 AAUs can support 4 terabyte compressed. That means up to 20 terabyte. All you need is 8 Avalanche units compute power to run it. We will work with you to determine the best size of Avalanche cluster that will give you basically the outcome you're looking for, the performance you need, the concurrency you need. So it's pretty straightforward. Within a few minutes, you click create and you're good to go. Again, I have already created a cluster and it's running. Here is the cluster I'm gonna show you. As you look at the cluster starts, you can basically query the data. When you click edit query, you will be able to run the query that you need. We have recant query and data is loaded. Here is an airline sample data we have. If you want to run this query, you go ahead and run it, and you get the result back. This is calculate the amount of time that each airplane sits on the ground, not flying. So these are the time that each flight basically on the ground. Also, you have the capability to even see this in a graphical format. So you can basically say, I want to do bar horizontal. I want to look at the reporting airlines. Here we go. So as you can see, here's the airline that is spend the most time on the ground compared to the smallest. So really you can visualize the data. It's pretty nice. And also, as I mentioned, it comes with integration. You basically come in, as you can see, that we have integration. You click on the integration, you can see integration templates. It comes with integration templates to load to your ADLS or S3. You can bring data. We have templates from Salesforce to Avalanche, basically from flat files. These templates, we create them and comes with the Avalanche. And if there's any templates that you need, we can create them for you, or we can enable you to design your own templates. We will teach you how to build your own templates for any data sources, regardless if that data source is an API or database, another database, or in cloud. We can help you build your ingestion of data from hundreds of sources in a simple template that you can, all your users can just use and reconfigure. Basically, here's a template that I'm gonna, in this template, when this template basically reads ping API like eBay and bring the data in. So I'm gonna go ahead and basically this templates, you can reconfigure it and change basically any value that you want to change in there. Basically, that's the template. So you can really run the configuration, and this basically is pinging eBay, and I'm looking for data to be loaded in the ADLS, and then also I'm going to load the data in my Avalanche. So if you basically go back and see, here we go, it's running and it's finished. So the eBay is done. So I just ingested data to two different places. One place is here. I loaded 10 JSON file from eBay. I was searching for Tesla, and then again, you can basically query that data. So you can hit, here is the query editor. You can run the query. Here is the API eBay JSON data came back. You can actually determine, you can do the count of the how many records I have, 34 records. If you want to know if all the data were JSON object, you can test for if the JSON data is object. Again, you can query the data. Now, this is a JSON format. You can actually query it as records, as if it was a raw format. It's stored in JSON natively, but you can see that I have prepared some queries. I'm going to look for item ID, product, price, currency for that data. So you click here, you'll be able to see all the item IDs, the price, the details. You query the data as if it's a raw format, but actually it's a JSON format stored in a columnar for speed of performance. So having said that, it's pretty nice. You have everything contained within the console. You can do query, you can ingest your data, build your own custom configurations or templates, or you can use the existing templates that comes in with the Avalanche. With that, I'm gonna jump back onto my healthcare demo. So let me share with you the background of this healthcare demo real quick. As you can see from the screen, the way it works, healthcare fraud is one of the biggest problems facing Medicare. It's an organized crime involving providers, physicians, and beneficiaries. So the objective of this demo is to proactively identify the potential fraudulent providers based on claim filed by the provider, detecting certain patterns in fraudulent claims to better anticipate future behavior. So what we have here, over 1 billion records from hundreds of various systems from different data formats, and we do analysis to that data. This data, the way we run the analysis is basically we look for a common procedure and diagnostic codes that is used the most in the fraud and potential fraud transaction. And we want to understand the number of providers who submit potential fraud claims, states and where that fraud is coming from, the cost of fraud. So basically, the way it works as basically you bring in data from different sources. Data comes in, you feed the trained data, and then you run it through your model, and then you have, this is your input. You have hundreds of sources of data comes in, you run them through a machine learning algorithm, run it against this model, and then you have prediction. You predict that transaction is fraudulent, or maybe it's not. So at the end of the day, you will have trained data, you have results of potential fraud. So let me show you the data. So here's my dashboard for Tableau that I would like to really quickly, the next few minutes, show you. So here, this is a storyline Tableau dashboard that gives you several dashboard in the storyline here. The very first one is just, I want to show you the, this is the outcome. This data set, 1 billion record, is the outcome of the basically of the trained data after it examined the new data, and then you produce basically results prediction of its fraud or not. So we have a billion records that we have in our table, and we have about 5.4% of that data potentially fraud, and 94% basically is non-fraud transaction, which is confirmed. So now your business analysts only have to worry about the 5% of the data and examine the data thoroughly. This 5% is sums to billions of dollars every year. So it's very critical. And also, most of the healthcare providers, they get paid how fast you can process the claims. You need to process the claim fast, but you want to make sure you process claim that is true transaction, not fraud transaction. So you need to be able to really not only pay it fast, but also figure out where the real fraud very fast. So if you click on the next line, this is a high-level summary of this. So here your monthly cost of each January, February for each of the fraud. Here is, it lists the fraud code that is used the most. As you can see on this one, code 4019 is used the most, and we divided it. We want to look at male and female fraud. So for example, if you click in male here, you immediately filter through the database. Live query is sent to database, and now you're looking at this code, 2009 code, male patient who involved in the fraud potential transaction, and here is the cost of it. You can really filter. Every time you click, it goes and run a complex query, and the results is back. So now let's take it to the next level. We're gonna go look at the fraud list. We're gonna need more details. Here is, as you can see, the data is being read from the database live, and it populated, as you can see in this dashboard, we have basically the fraud locations, and these numbers, basically it tells how many provider is involved, and here is the level of details. This is an amazing details that if you are the fraud detection business analyst, you would want to basically, if your region is Texas, you click on Texas, and immediately, as you can see, we filter, see all the providers are practice in Texas, and then you'll see all these providers listed here. If you want to just look at the highest provider, which have the highest fraud count, potential fraud, so you click on this, and here we go. You immediately filter through, and I just want you to see this. When a query is sent, we're sending account distinct level of details that we want to look at a particular segment of the data for a particular region, and I would like to understand the claim ID, the physician attended, the amount or the code that is used for the potential basically fraud claim. So this is a level of details that basically the query will have to go filter through this 1 billion records to be able to give you that level of details. The last storyline I want to share with you is you want to understand the cost of that fraud. So here's another dashboard, maybe for management to look at it, or maybe for the fraud analyst, they would like to really know where they need to start. Of course, you start with the basically the highest level. So here is another view of, as you can see, the yellow bars here, basically the amount of money that is not a fraud. And here is that 5% red line. Basically, this is how much fraud we are talking about. So you can immediately, basically, again, if you're Texas business analyst, fraud detection agent, you can, let's say you want to look at Texas, you click on Texas, and immediately you come and see the cost of each claim level. This is the level of details that is under your hand, under your disposal. Within seconds, you can refresh the dashboards and ready to make sense and take action to further verify if these fraud potential are really fraud or not. So with that, I would like to go back to the final slide and also take if there is any questions. I see some questions came in the chat. I will address them after I conclude. So let me go ahead and click on the presentation here. So basically, the takeaway and the summary, the more you scale with your data, the more users you add, the more differentiation you see within Avalanche. High performance out of the box. It took a few seconds to query over 1 billion of raw data. Ability to perform count distinct queries, joins with several dependencies, and populate the dashboard in seconds. Again, instance answer to your complex query. Elastic scale for your future growth. As your data grow, you don't have to change any of your dashboard. All you have to do is just increase the number of Avalanche units, add more compute power, and only pay for what you use. At the end of the month, you have high data growth or high data you want to process, you increase the number of CPUs, and when you're done, you basically drop it down so you don't have to pay for what you don't use. Do more for less. This is what Avalanche is all about. You can do more for a few CPU on board. Costs stay within your budget. Do everything within one console, integration, query editor, create more clusters, and so on. Last thing, I want you to leave you with that the same technology is deployed on premise or on multiple cloud or on hybrid is the same. Meaning, if you have existing ATL jobs, you can easily use it with our data warehouse because we follow the standards. We offer superior TCO, lowest cost for performance at enterprise scale. Again, last but not least, we're the only company that we have native integration capabilities to SaaS, flat files, on-premise, and APIs. Other competition, they might have a third-party tool to ingest data, but this is our technology that it's part of the console, Avalanche Console. Simple to use. We encourage you to try to do that free trial. You get up to $500 credit. If you have any questions, you can contact us at asa@actian.com. Some question came in. I would like to address that if there is basically integration point that is not available, it's not part of the current template in Avalanche. Can that be, how that can happen? Of course, again, as I mentioned earlier, if you have any endpoints, our integration tool embedded in Avalanche can support any data anywhere, whether on premise or on the cloud. We will build that template for you to your specification, or we can give you the ability to do the design yourself. We train you on the designer, you design it, and then you launch your templates. The good thing about these templates is basically you create a template and that template is repurposed. That template is repurposed to run differently every time. Another question came in is about JSON format. How is the data stored? Probably that question came before I jumped to it. I answered this in the demo, that JSON is stored natively in a JSON format in Avalanche Data Warehouse tables. and you can query this data and point to what you're looking for as far as the data type within that JSON. You can treat this as a raw format or just regular data instead of JSON, and you can also query it as a JSON. So, and you can also, by the way, if you want to convert that JSON to basically flatten that JSON and store it as a columnar, comma separated. Also, we have templates that can really flatten JSON. So you don't have to flatten that JSON to load it. You can load it natively, or you can flatten it and load it into Avalanche. It's all part of the Avalanche Connect. So I hope you guys enjoyed the demo and the webinar. And if you have any questions, let us know. And thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.